gonna be in the dark unless I fix the lamp.
You are now live.
We are live. And for those that end up watching this on YouTube, we're going to do a brush shootout. Well, that's pretty much it, isn't it, really?
It is.
Broken Toad
That is it.
Fugazi series. And Broken Toad Mark 3 series. Yeah, we're just kind of going to do the same as we did last time and see what happens. Just see what happens. See what comes out of my mouth. See what comes out of Andy's mouth. Andy's a brush licker, so you see what goes in his mouth as well. Dare we say. Who is here? 6 folk in. Rual joined.
That's me. That's cheating.
Ah, like bumping up my numbers in a inaccurate way. Oh, come on, thing. Right, who have we got? Glyn Owen, hello. Shemels, hello. Nate Fogarty, hello. Driffield, hello. Cowboy, hello. Oh, there's just loads of you. I'm not going to be able to say hello to everybody. Broken Toad, hello. You made it. Fishy, hello. Yeah.
Hi, Brendan.
Oh, which one's Brendan?
Croaty boy. Reads a bit like cowboy.
All right, I called you Cowboy, Brendan. Hi, Brendan. Glitch, hello. Hello, everybody. Just hello. I don't know. What do we want to do? Do we want to jump straight in or waffle about stuff while people join? There's 8 people.
Maybe let's do a bit of brush waffle. Maybe.
Brush waffle. Why? What brush waffle?
Should we do some context? Do you want to say something about what? Are we just going to talk about the Broken Toe brushes, or are we going to talk about
no
where they sit in the set of available brushes?
Well, you know, and if you don't know, but you know I winged all this stuff. What comes out of my mouth comes out of my mouth. I am happy just to free flow with everything, so I don't mind. And if anyone's got any questions about anything else, then yeah, they can pipe up as well. But yeah, go on. What were you thinking about saying about Broken Toe brushes in the scheme of whatever you were thinking?
Well, I've noticed, as I've only been playing with these brushes for a couple of weeks now.
When you say that, do you mean, have you bought some?
No, I haven't bought some. So I played with the Sable ones, the Mark 3s, 2 weeks ago on a live stream.
So you've had minutes then?
Yeah. And I picked up one of the Fugazi ones just before tonight and went whoop with a bit of water. So that's all I know about these brushes, right?
Right,
but what I've picked up is they are quite different from the Rosemary Co brushes that I've used before.
Yeah.
Winsor & Newton's, the shape of the brushes and the size of them is different. So in that they already stand apart a little bit. So I'm not qualified to say that they're better, but they are different.
Yeah. I mean, so some more context. Tonight was your first time using a Winsor & Newton as well.
True. Yeah.
Yeah. So not a brand new Winsor & Newton, but these aren't in bad condition. Yeah, I've brought out the Winsor & Newtons as well, and generally I'll try some of the larger brushes. You know, my go-tos are always when it comes to Winsor & Newton, size 2 and a size 0. But we'll probably do size 1s again. I have kept a size 1 here in my little my brush burnout from the other day, so it must have been a good size 1. So I've kept it for some reason. But yeah, so if we need to compare Winsor & Newtons as well, we can do. Yeah. Do you know what, right? First thing that strikes me about the Fugazi brushes is literally, and I'm not kidding you, Chris, they're a pretty looking brush. The handle is gorgeous. It just looks lovely, and it made me think that I wanted a guitar in that colour, which is not going to come up too great on the on camera, but it's just a gorgeous colour. I almost feel like I don't want to use them because of the wood grain and the stain in it. I mean, or is it a stain? Yeah, it must be because the ends are the same colour. But yeah, they just look gorgeous. And in fact, for anyone else watching as well, I'm not paid by Broken Toad to do any of these things, and I'm under no obligations to say nice things. I'm only going to say honest things. Although I feel pretty confident I will only be saying nice things at the same time, because my experience with the Broken Toad brushes so far has always been sterling. So, you know, there you go.
Yeah, they are very, very pretty brushes.
Yeah, very pretty. Yeah, I like the box as well. Oh, if anybody ever buys some, by the way, I nearly like the box. What a keepable object, right? So it opens as a drawer, and I'm here trying to like peel this off, and I'd have just ended up ripping the lid. So yes, so for those who ever get some, it opens like a drawer, and it's very nice. And I never said in the last live stream actually. I've moved it. I got rid of it. What you get, and I first time I ever got Broken Toad brushes, I really liked this. I'm just going to read it out for you, because you don't get this in other brush things. Caring for your miniature series brush. So 4 points in caring for your brush. Never use your good brush to remove paint from a pot, or mix and thin paint on your palette, as this can damage the tip. True. Do I do it? No. Guilty. And yeah, I think that's the biggest reason why brushes die, is the way you use them for prep, essentially. Never allow paint to gather more than halfway along the bristles from the tip. Agreed, and great advice. I sometimes go 2/3, 3/4 if it's a big brush load, but I do it consciously. But I definitely try and keep any material other than water away from the ferrule. Rinse a brush regularly in cold water during painting to help avoid paint buildup. Great advice. Not enough people do that. So like when you think about airbrushing, I once made a quip one time. If you want to get good at airbrushing, just become a cleaner, because all you ever do is you seem to just like clean blockages all the time. And believe it or not, it's exactly the same rule with your paintbrush. You know, I'm washing my brush every seconds. I'm always washing and resetting, Mm-hmm. You know, and it's an essential habit to build, an essential habit. So if you have consistency issues where your paint generally is lumpy, streaky, too dry, sticky, blah blah blah, chances are you're just not washing your brush enough, amongst some other things. So yeah, there you go. Always replace the cap after working, and store brush with the tip pointing down. I never do that, I always lie mine down. This will stop liquids and debris from accumulating in the ferrule, and stop the tip from distorting or misshaping, prolonging the life of the brush. Having never done that, I can't say whether it does or it doesn't, but again, Broken Toad make amazing things, and they've got impeccable standards to my knowledge and experience so far, so I can only assume that that is true. So there you go, great brush advice you don't get anywhere else.
Practical too, simple. No great diatribe, no blog posts to go and read. Just some simple stuff to do. Yeah,
no laborious long live streams to watch. Yeah, cool. Has anyone got any questions about like that? Oh, Chris has said something.
Chris said we only want to hear 100% honest reviews, so go to town.
Go to town. Yeah, I already know that about Chris. He values honest and clear feedback. What I mean by that is because I think most people struggle with feedback, whether it be giving it to somebody's paint job or whatever. And what they do is they start going through likes and dislikes, and likes and dislikes in many degrees are almost useless, because it's just your opinion. but picking up on certain facts and saying, here is a fact outlined by these things that's going to go down real well. And I think anybody would like to receive feedback in that way, and that's how I try and do these when I do them. If I do have an opinion, I'll just say it's my opinion, but you know, blah blah blah. But like I said in the last video, I spoke about how different the broken toad brushes are to the Rosemary and Co brushes and Element Games brushes, and even Winsor Newton brushes. But I didn't say I preferred one or the other. You know, I am able to adapt and overcome. You had a compare earlier on with Rosemary and Co. How did you adapt and overcome?
I did well. So two things jumped out at me. One is that the brush preparation techniques that you've taught me, how to prepare paint on the palette and load the brush correctly. Whatever muscle memory I had for doing that with the Rosemary and Co brush, that's my regular brush, doesn't work so well. It's the broken toad brush is a different shape, it's a different style. So I was using the number 1 broken toad, which is
but which the synthetic or
no, the Sable.
Okay, yeah.
Ones. So yeah, that's like we talked about the last time I was on, a fortnight ago. That's on me. That's something I need to learn how to do properly. Yeah. The other thing that I noticed was that I think as not a master painter, right? As a kind of a jobbing, okay-ish painter.
Master painter.
It feels like the broken toad Sable brushes, the Mark IIIs, would be a bit more forgiving for doing lines, right? They're longer and they're wider. They've still got a super fine point. So I was just trying out a little bit edge highlighting on an old Space Marine, and yeah, I could notice that as my hand was not perfectly steady and wobbling just a little bit, the brush was staying in just a little bit more of the same place. So maybe it's a little bit more forgiving compared to the Rosemary Co, which is shorter and narrower, and so whatever movements you make get translated directly to the model.
Yeah. I like the difference between a rig. I only did catch the end of that, by the way. I was too busy testing out what you found early on. But yeah, because you know, rigger brushes are longer, so any quivers there get absorbed like by the length of the bristles. So yeah, a shorter brush like Rosemary and Co is going to translate any quivers, or a stiffer brush as well. It's going to translate any quivers down into your result on the model. Whereas the broken toad ones are so firm yet soft. They absorb your quakes a lot more effective. So much so that you probably wouldn't even notice it happening. You know, and you just think you're ace at painting lines all of a sudden. Maybe the brush has provided, dare I say a crutch, but at the same time, you know, they're a top end, and that's apparent when you use them. They're a top end piece of equipment. So at that level, you shouldn't need crutches. You should be good enough to do it either way, I reckon. I think. But that's me. So that's the way that is my opinion, and that is how I work. You know, I'll always choose skills over equipment where possible. You know. There's no gimmicks and crutches around me, at least. And if I find one, I tend to start working it away from me sooner rather than later. You know. So yeah, and Andy is right. Between a broken toad Mark III Sable versus a Rosemary and Co equivalent, yeah, they do behave very different on the palette, and I would actually mix. It's the same kind of principle though, of how I mix and become aware of the consistency as it happens on the palette. But yeah, I would treat them very differently. And not to mention the broken toad ones, I always want to last longer, because they kind of require a little bit more respect as well. And you know, because you feel the softness of them, even though they are really firm, strong brushes. They definitely feel like they need care as well. And I have to say, oh no, it's okay. I thought I had a little bit of texture on this palette, which can also start to chew your bristles up. You know, so if you mix paint a lot, when I mix paint, I mix it in an ellipse like this, and there's two things about the ellipse. One is the downstroke part of the ellipse, and one is the upstroke. If you're applying pressure, consistent pressure, when you're doing your mixing, then these up bits are going to snag and start to kill the tips of your brush, and these down bits are going to be okay because it goes with the flow of the brush. So whenever I mix, I lift, press, press, press. There's a little bit of touching, but essentially it's press, press, press in the lips, you know. And I'm doing a couple of things there. One is I'm ejecting moisture out of the well of the brush into the paint at a rate I want the water to be diluted at. So I don't just get some paint and some water and see what happens. Deliberately make it exactly how I want it, straight away, bam, it's done. And it's about understanding the way the brush flexes and squeezes moisture out and sucks it back up as well.
So you know, that is exactly the sort of thing I noticed, right, when I was trying to load up the brush, load up the Bronco Series Mark III Sable brush. Was that
them ones?
Yeah, them ones. That one.
Mark III. Should we call them Mark III and fugazi? Because they actually both got Mark III on them, aren't they?
They have, yeah. Let's call them Mark III for the Sable ones and fugazi for the Mark III fugazi.
Or humans and replicants.
I don't think that's going to help. But yeah, so I found that I wasn't really anticipating just how much more water was in the well, and yeah, doing that oval mix, pressing a little bit too hard, loads of water comes out, and all of a sudden the paint is too dilute.
Yeah.
And I've gone too far, right? And I need to go back to the pot and get more paint.
Yeah.
But that, again, should be very clear, not problem. This is something to adapt to, right? This is a brush with different properties, and when you get a new brush with different properties, you have to learn how to use it. Yeah,
which at the end of the day, everyone who's watching this, I know, is chasing skills and better results. I know you are. You wouldn't be here unless you wanted to develop something about yourself, you know. And in this instance, it's learning about brushes. And anybody who says, "Oh no, the brush should do it anyway," and I go, well, you know, if you can develop a skill to adapt to brushes, are you now a better painter? It's a simple question, and the answer is always going to be yeah. You know, so having a range of brushes and the skill to adapt is a good thing. And think about it, everybody does adapt anyway with brushes, because you start off with a brush you like, you use it, it wears down, it wears down. It's not the same brush at the beginning than it is at the end. You now have a different skill set, but unless you're consciously able to apply that skill set as a tool, then, you know, by having the experience of lots of different brushes and brush brands, then you're kind of going to miss out, I think. It's kind of happened to me just because of the amount of time I've been doing it and just what's been available. So, you know, I don't know. Is it a thing? Is it even a thing, thinking about it? Or do I just look at things in that kind of level of detail?
I think it's a thing, right? Because in the example you just gave, right? Yeah, so you adapt to the brush as it wears and you use it.
Yeah, and you wouldn't notice, would you?
Until you're lazy and rich. So you go, you know what? I think this brush is knackered. I'm going to throw it in the bin and buy a new one. Brush cleaning be damned. And now all of a sudden,
that guy.
you've got very different brushes, right? You've just stopped using one brush and started using a brush which is completely different. And you're going to adapt to it. And you know, maybe there's going to be a bit of bias in there, a bit of this stuff that's going to be telling you that it's better because it's new,
or telling you it's shitter because it's different.
Maybe. But you've spent the money, right? So that fires some stuff off of it.
Yeah.
So maybe you're going to think, oh yeah, this brush is much better, and I can use it much better, and I get better results.
Yeah.
But that's probably because you've adapted to it.
Yeah. Absolutely. So do it. Right, is everyone set out?
We had a question from, I'm going to assume this is Nath Fogarty, which I don't think we can answer. What is the bristle length, softness and firmness, etc. like compared to an Artist Opus S? Or we do have an Artist Opus S in somewhere.
Now,
Maybe.
the Artist Opus S's are old. Not necessarily used a lot. But they are definitely used, so I'm not sure what state they're going to be in. So this part cannot reflect too much on Artist Opus. Right, what size are we on here? Should we just stick with size 1?
Yeah. Maybe a 2 or a 0 as well.
Yeah, well, it's all about these today, though. It's just, I just want to dive in quick.
Oh, all right.
That,
Let's do the 1 then. Let's look at ones.
Size 1s. Broken Toad is longer by about 2 mil in the synthetic brush. Squirrel the air there. Oh, okay. Yeah, longer by about 2 mil, and if we got here, size 0, size 1, Sable ones insanely. Yeah, oh, interesting. So I mean, I can't give you measurements really because the increments are that tiny, but the Sable brush is almost a third fatter in width than Artist Opus brush, and the Fugazi brush is fatter but tapers different. So the taper on the synthetic brush is more that of a cone, whereas the two Sable brushes are more that of a leaf where they plump out a little bit and then taper off. But the Broken Toe Mark 3s are just bigger brushes in general anyway. But it's not like they're a size up, it's kind of like in between.
Yeah.
So it's hard still to say. But yeah, let's put these... What else did he say? Have I answered everything?
Softness and firmness.
Softness and firmness.
How does the Artist Opus brush compare with the Broken Toad ones?
Oh, I already know. Yeah, the Broken Toad ones are a lot softer. They tend to hold more water, like they plump out so much more, in a good way. Whereas the Artist Opus ones don't change too much with the water. However, I have just woken this brush up from some cryogenic
deep sleep, and this one's been used about an hour ago, so it's had time to soak a little bit. But yeah, experience tells me that it's not going to change too much. Look, you can see both these are size 1s, by the way. What we're doing here now. So yeah. Anyway. Let's put the Artist Opus brushes to one side.
Firmness wise though, they feel about the same firmness, which I know sounds like a contradiction, because we spoke about what's the firmness and what's the softness, but it can also change depending on the way it holds the water, because the plump feel, can add to softness.
Yeah, because there's water in there along with the brushes forming the structure of the whole thing.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, there you have it.
Right, no more questions.
Brilliant. Should we get on?
Yeah.
Should we get on? What are we doing? Size 1 versus size 1. Again, this is just a gorgeous looking brush. It's fit. That's the top handle. Alright. Now, believe it or not, even though this is synthetic hair, I still wake it up. I still don't treat my brushes rough when they dry. I still ease my way into them. No, in a weird way. In a weird way. Yeah, man. There we go. Size 1. Open up. Oh, I've already done this guy, haven't I? So he's sat there all chubby in his tube. Oh. Right, okay. Alright. Should we pull you guys over and put you in me overhead cam?
So yeah, while you're moving the camera, Johnny, Nate Fogarty replied that he's found himself using bigger artisophus brushes to enjoy bigger water hold.
Yeah.
Been thinking of trying something different for a while. Well, yeah, it should be clear now that the broken-toed brushes at the particular number are a bit bigger than a Winsor & Newton or an artisophus in a usable way. I think that's probably fair to say.
Yeah, usable. Yeah, in a practical. That's the term, isn't it?
Yeah.
Practical. Right, can I get some? Can I just make it look nice with boxes? There we go. Looking nice with boxes. That'll do. Alright, oh hang on a minute. I could do it better than that. There we go, so now I've got some space to play with. Right. Bam. So size wise and shape wise, well you can see, you know, fugazi on the left, mk3 on the right, fatter, plumper, more leaf shaped, so more oval shaped. This one definitely more cone shaped. All right, so the cone shape actually is common in all synthetic brushes. Yeah, generally what you'll find is you wear miniature series brushes, and big difference between miniature series brushes is they are shorter cone shaped brushes. And funny, we had this conversation earlier on, and what it means is they actually hold less water, so you have less workable time with them, but because they're shorter you can be more accurate with them. But that's the miniature series, which are shorter cone shapes. All right. So you sacrifice workable time for accuracy with a miniature brush, and generally when the miniature brushes are synthetic, so like Winsor & Newton do a Sable miniature series, so I'm not going to talk about them, but I am going to talk about synthetic brushes in general, because I'm going on about the miniature series synthetics. All right, so the miniature series, like generally they start to bend at the end. All synthetic brushes start to bend, whereas Sable brushes will start to split and snap, you know. Now, bearing that in mind, because this is allegedly a high quality synthetic Sable, an imitation Sable, and knowing that the ends start to bend, I would be really reluctant to mix paint with this, like straight off. All right, I wouldn't be so reluctant with this because as we use these brushes, they start to kind of, like, again, like we discussed earlier on, they break into me and I break into the brush. So as they wear, we both I and the brush wear together, we get to know each other and you become really familiar. Now, when synthetic brushes wear, though I don't know if it applies to this, when synthetic brushes wear, they start to bend. They don't wear in a way that you can adapt to, unless you want to paint around corners. I don't know if this brush does that, and we probably won't find out in this demo either, because we need some time. Yeah. So I'll have to spend some time with that and report back on it. So there's that. Should we just get a first impression? Should we just do it? What should we do? What colour should we choose? Avalon Sunset.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I could have sworn you would have gone for Dryad Bark, but then
really? Oh, Dryad Bark's like the unsung hero of all paints. Along with Charadon Granite. Right, so broken all the rules in the book. Literally took some paint straight out of the pot. Let's just start mixing. All right, immediately I'm comfortable. That much I can say. Immediately I don't think, oh, I need to adapt to that. What I do need to adapt to is not having me drinking water where me paint washy water normally is. Yeah, so immediately, just in the way I use the brush, I'm happy to use that straight out. I'm happy that I can get results. And bam, 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 consistently. Like I said, you know, because of the straightness of the bristles, I expected it to hold less water, so my paint started to run out pretty quick. Yeah, to be very much expected. So not a bad thing, just a thing. Yeah, there we go. So what was that, 10 brush strokes? I don't know what's going on with me paint, why it's getting darker towards the end. It must be something to do with the undercoat, which I kind of half-assed sprayed on it the other day. Right, let's do a similar thing with, let's get a bit more. Right, so immediately this feels softer, plumper and fuller. Oh, that's an interesting turnout. So let me just, palette feels too dry, so I think, so I used the end of a can to spray this earlier on, so I think it's just speckled it slightly. So I won't stand for that. Right, this may overexpose because it's black on the other side. There we go. In fact, if I put the broken toad box in, that'll tone that down a little bit. There you go, look, see, camera tricks, overexpose, less overexpose, overexpose. So when you know things about cameras, you start to know how they behave, you start to predict and prevent certain things. Boop, boop, boop. So here we go, yellow on black, bam, 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 lovely. Yeah, nice brush, man. So I'd use this for everything, pretty much. This guy. Bam, 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 bam. Yeah, so yeah, because of the smaller brush size and the cone shape, there's less, and the synthetic brush itself will hold, because there's nowhere for moisture to seep into the individual hairs. I assume, not that I've ever looked at them under a microscope, but you know, it is tiny strands of plastic, which I assume would be smooth if you looked at them, or at least smoother than a Sable hair. But it's a really nice brush, man. It's a nice brush. I think that's just that. It's just a nice brush. I'm just seeing now if the end is bending. No, it's not. How does it look on your camera, Andy? Is it look all right? Can everybody see?
Yeah.
Nobody's saying they can't see anything, can they?
No. And yeah, we can see those lines all right.
Brilliant. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's grab a rosemary and coal, because that's what I've got. And I you know, these aren't that old, so I don't mind comparing them. So, so far it gets a thumbs up from me. Ooh, so that's a turnout. So this is so this brush actually feels softer, but it's where it feels softer. And yes, I can feel these things personally. So this brush is tending to bend more at the back end, That's how it feels. Not a bad thing, but an observation. So, you know, I've been using this a lot to paint in the last few days, just to see how it goes as an individual. And like I said, generally it'll save me broken toads for when I need something extra. What else should we do? Let's do a series 7 as well, why not? Lovely. Might need a bit more time to soak up some water, this one. But it is an old series 7, you see it's got paint on it and blah blah, but the writing is still on it, so it tells me I've hardly ever used it. So I'm getting the same kind of feel with this. It feels soft, but at the back of the brush as opposed to the front. Going back, fugazi, because I think this is the point of today's live stream. Really, is it interesting? So it's got a quite consistent flex on the brush. It kind of sits in the, in fact, does it sit in the, it sits where I have the pressure. It's just, it's nice. I think that's all I have to say, really. I think that about sums it up. Can I do, yes I can.
Just say a bit more about that. Like what? So you said it sits where you have the pressure. So does that mean it's flexing in a bit more of a uniform way compared to others? Like what?
It's a good question. That. Let's go back to this. That's interesting. So here's what I'm going to say. Where it flexes and how it flexes and how sensitive I am or am not to that flex, I don't think makes a difference. I think it's one of them weird subtleties that I can acknowledge. I don't think anyone would really notice.
All right.
You know, so I don't think it matters. So this brush seemed to. This is definitely the softest brush of all of them, and the where it flexes feels the same as the other two Sable ones as well, but just in a really different, in a softer, plumper way, a smoother way. I think that's a better term. I think it's a better term. I think maybe that might be it. I think the added smoothment. It's now a word, right? So the added smoothment of this makes it feel like it's maybe softer, and I'm wondering if that might actually be the case. You know, it's really interesting.
Does it bend smoothly? Is that a useful thing? Well, like as you apply the pressure, is that so? Is it?
So here's one thing I did notice after trying these three brushes. When I got to the broken toad, they're all broken toad, right? But the Mark IIIs, the Sable ones, I found I would overpress. I actually need to just back off the gas a little bit. But again, it's a subtle change, but I reckon everyone would feel that.
That's kind of what I noticed when I was comparing the Sable Broken Toad Mark III and my Rosemary & Company brush I'm familiar with. So yeah. You have to apply less pressure. Now, I guess a question there is there something useful that you can do with that extra pressure that you've got there? Is that a tool you can use? Or is it just something to?
That's a good question, that. See, this is why I invite you here, man. So I'm feeling the urge to add in the Artist Opus ones. Again, I I'm not sure if it's entirely fair because, like I say, these brushes have had got some age behind them now, and some amount of usage. How much I can't say, but I just wouldn't want to compare unfairly, given that almost all of these are brand new.
Yep.
You know, in fact, the Winsor Newton can't be that brand new because it's covered in paint, but the writing still is on and not worn off in any way, so I'm assuming that's pretty good. Right, so let's choose this one. This looks the nicest. It had the neatest cap on the top. So immediately, the first thing I noticed with the Artist Open size 1 is it feels like an entirely smaller brush. You can kind of tell by the way I've mixed this thing here, which is just an automatic reaction I have, but it's a good brush. Yeah, man. Oops. Yeah, it's a good brush. Yeah, all right, it can stay in. It can stay in. Yeah, so that's really interesting. That I didn't expect the Artist Opus to feel that much smaller, because it does. I'm running out of table here. I can't. Let's move things along. I'll just change colour in a minute. Actually, I'm gonna put my hand in all my mixes now. Won't be the first time. Oops. Yeah, interesting. Has anyone got any questions, by the way? Are we all good?
No questions coming just yet, but yeah, if anybody's got anything they want to ask.
Take it everyone's enthralled. Right, cool. Right, picking them at random now. Interesting. Definitely a smaller brush. So of all the size ones, the Artist Opus, at least from the time this was manufactured, things can change with brushes. Obviously I don't know, but at the time this is definitely a smaller brush. Let's go back. Bigger handle on this. I always definitely prefer bigger handles. Yeah, it's definitely a smaller brush. Definitely. It's a nice brush, that. And then, yeah, last but not least, big fat broken toad, which actually I need more moisture in. There we go. Juicy. Juicy, juicy. Yeah, man. Here's my conclusion. Just from this test here, it's not a complete test, but it's definitely a first impressions test. So you're getting an idea now of the size of all these brushes. Yeah. In fact, visibly when I hold them, the Artist Opus is definitely the smallest one. Not a problem, just a property. The Rosemary & Co felt fatter. The Series 7 somewhere in between these two. So let's put them in size order then. There we go. Brushes now in size order. So all size ones. All I'm going to assume pretty much new. And all great. All great. In fact, here's a question. Chris, if you're still on, Mr. Toad, is there anything you wish for me to, any paces you want me to put this through? Anything specific you want me to demonstrate with it? Let's, because you're in, might as well get your input as well. So I know I'd use all these brushes in whatever situation. Whether this looks like a convincing enough test for you guys is it's kind of irrelevant to me, because it's a good enough test for me, you know, and I'm telling you what I think. So let's go a bit more in depth then, why not?
So we got a question, another question if you want.
Yeah. Keep it coming, man. I'll do this all night.
Do you think feeling smaller or larger will have much effect on, say, dexterity?
So this, like the miniature painting question from earlier on, that, you know, when I talk about the miniature brushes. So a shorter brush will allow you more accuracy, but will translate more of your quivers and quakes onto the model more accurately as well. You know, so what I mean by this is, a small movement here translates to a big movement there. So the further up I hold the brush, the smaller the translation to the tip. Now, it might look like the difference in a couple of mil at the end of some bristles won't matter. It matters. It matters massively. You will be more accurate with a shorter brush. This is why I always say that brushes with these big fat triangle handles there, you have to hold the brush there, they're not helping you be accurate or more stable or anything practical. You need to be holding the brush there. Now, why wouldn't I hold it further down? Because what you'll find is you start to run out of space here. So this movement, so I'm starting to tense up at this point. So you're only getting a brush stroke so far. When you hold the brush there, you find you can go further, which is a weird thing. I don't know how or why it works, but there's a sweet spot on a brush and it's right at the ferrule.
It's a trade-off as well, isn't it, between, so you have a bit of a longer brush sticking out from your fingers, it's a longer lever, it's going to amplify your movements more. That means that small movements that you don't want to get magnified, but also means that movement that you make with your finger and thumb in order to draw a line is going to draw a longer line. It's a longer lever.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's nice to have a physicist sat at the table as well.
And just to finish off the discussion on brushes, the physics part of the shorter brushes, that the shorter bristles are stiffer, and that means that when you make that small movement, it takes more force to prevent them coming with you. The longer, softer bristles, when you make a small movement, if there's something holding them back, they might stay where they are. And so the stroke that your little amount of shakiness might cause to be a mistake doesn't happen because of the longer, softer brush.
Yeah, absolutely. We didn't do much painting last time, did we? With the
no, we didn't.
With the other brushes, but I'm just fascinated to try a synthetic Sable. So that's really, I think that's what this is about. I've called it a brush shootout, but it's turned into a Sable test.
Synthetic Sable test.
Interesting. So let's... So I've just done 2 coats of paint on that, and I'll say this, I can feel a difference. Is the difference affecting me? No. Am I bothered? No. So let's see now what we get here. Notice I'm starting new mixes each time because I always want to know how the brush and paint behave straight from the pot, you know, and how it behaves when I'm preparing my paint as well. Oh, it's very interesting. I'm almost. I wonder if this is. Oh, that's all right. That's okay. Take it back. Yeah, it's a subtle difference. It's a subtle difference indeed.
Yeah.
Do you want to
go? No.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. He sounded disappointed that it was a no then. Yeah. All right. So base coating wise, it's all good. It's all good. There's a difference, but not a careable difference. Right. Okay. So let's dry bark me. Where are you? Oh, look at you there, prepped and ready. Dry bark. Dun, dun, dun. Right.
The reason that I don't want to try them out is that I'm still not all that confident using the broken toe brush. It really does feel, using the Sable Series 3, so I don't really feel like I'm in a position to say much about the difference between them when they're both still pretty unfamiliar.
Well, see, the interesting thing is, like, your inexperienced evaluation might apply to somebody.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, I'm not saying it will, but I wouldn't discount your opinion. Interesting. Right, so I can do what I need to do with it in many different ways. I'm happy performing with this brush. I can tell you that now. I am happy performing with it. In fact, so happy performing with it, I've gone on to autopilot. And that's a good thing. Because if I have to think about managing a brush while I'm using it, if I have to really think about it, then something's going wrong with it. You know what I mean? If there's a stray air, if it won't hold a point, if it sucks up too much moisture, if it's not got enough moisture, blah, blah, blah. But if once I've got over, say, the fact that I'm on camera and I'm doing a demo and blah, blah, if I switch off and I've just done some painting, then, do you know what? Was all that on camera then? Had I done that off camera? Just someone let me know. Because I realised I had drifted, so I don't know if I'd just gone off camera and just done a load of painting.
I can't really tell you because I'm 30 seconds behind or something.
Yeah, somebody needs to tell me if that's all right. And apologies, by the way. Yeah, I hope you just saw what I did with these mixes on the model. So in fact, I don't need to carry on. I've just said it really, haven't I? So, you know, this brush is performing. It's performing in such a way that I was able to forget that you guys existed, and I was just started painting this dude. All in all, that's a good sign. That, yeah, all in all, that's a good sign. I wonder how many people, Chris, you know, I'm sat here literally just breaking all your rules of prepping paint. You know, right. Lovely. Let's go a bit darker up in there. Yeah, spot on, man. Like, genuinely, yeah, Chris, you've made a good brush there, man. You've made a good brush. Because I could happily sit here painting this part of this model now, and it's just a model I've been teaching on. I've been teaching somebody non-mets on the on his toe there. That's lesson 1. Nice. For a quick blend, 2 coats.
Yep. Nice.
Alright. So that is how the paint so basically what I've just done there is I've done a base coat and I've done a soft effect, which some people might know as a blend. Cool. You know, I did that soft effect into a shade or a darker colour, which is a better way of looking at it. So let's go a little bit lighter. Interesting. Ooh, well, there's a thing. Lamp down. Game face now. Alright, interesting. I'll tell you what's interesting in a minute, by the way. Right now I'm just making sure I get the best out of the brush. Yeah, man. Any questions popped up, or are we all good? Has anybody said they missed that demo?
No, no one said that. It does
cool.
look like you were on camera.
Right, so you see I've just done some edge highlights. Let's add in a little bit of softness to this area here as well. Let's be quick. Nearly screws it. Correct. Spin it round, because that's why I nearly screwed it. Oh, I have screwed it. Put a nice little line there. Right, tough.
Accidents happen.
Yep. So, watch me un-accident it. Gone. There you go. Alright, so here's an interesting thing. Yes, I can make mistakes with the brush, and I can also correct them. Right, brilliant. Okay. Let's go again a bit of that. See, I'm playing with all different types of consistency as well. I don't know if anybody can see that, but I am. I like the idea that there's no questions. How many people are in?
We've got 7 at the moment.
Alright, so, right, yeah, cool. I hope you're all entertained. So, I'm going to say again, I've gone on to autopilot. I'm just kind of painting now. I'm just, you know, I'm using the brush is using me. You know, we're all kind of an happy team. That's pretty good. I'm going to switch to this now.
So a few moments ago, you said that's interesting while you were doing it.
Yeah, I'm about to come out. That's literally why I've swapped brushes.
All right.
So, some of you may have noticed when I was painting here, and I'm sure Andy will notice it when he watches back, that I actually, before I went, oh, that's interesting, I was turning the brush. Because brushes generally will have a, just to exaggerate it, a wider setting and a slimmer setting. The synthetic Sable didn't have that. So it snapped back to what is uniform. Now, is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? It's definitely a thing. Alright, Now, let's see if I can exaggerate it. It's less, I can exaggerate it, but it's definitely going to be less obvious on camera. Alright, now here's the interesting thing. I felt that the point on the synthetic was smaller. No, sorry, was not as small as the Sable one. However, let's just move this up back here so you guys hopefully can see better. I am noticing that it doesn't matter, I can paint pretty goddamn thin lines pretty quick. You guys, oh, you can't see them. There they are. Yeah, so they're like 1/4 mil wide, something like that. Let's do them again. Let's do them here. Hopefully you can see them. So yeah, do pull back and twist. Line, 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 line. Not as small as your ones, but I'm kind of doing it on an angle, so yeah, I can't help that. But there you go. Barely anything of a mil. That some of them lines. Let's bring it up to you. So yeah, just those there. So can it do small lines? Yes. Does it look like it could do small lines? No, it had me doubting at first, but I wouldn't need to do a line smaller than that. And I can tell you now that line, the only time I've seen a line that small is when I use a 000 and I'm on a 1. So the point was really good. And like I said, snapped back to uniform as opposed to stayed a different shape if I needed it to be, because I do that. I do change the shape of brushes while I'm working on them.
Do you think it could be a useful property? So a brush that does kind of maintain that point instead of becoming that wedge shape?
Yeah, because as you're using a brush. As you're using a brush, let's say you're just doing line highlights, yeah. The more you use that brush, the more you're pressing it into a particular shape. Mm-hmm. Well, the more you use that brush, what I'm essentially saying is the brush is getting wider and wider and wider. Mm-hmm. And if you want uniform lines, then you have to keep going back and resetting your brush with a Sable brush. Mm-hmm. With this, you would need to do that less, or at least less urgently.
Yeah,
you know, but that depends on also how you paint as well, because some painters will paint with a real light touch and not really influence the brush with pressure, but more connect the material in the brush to the model and allow that to flood on in an insanely controlled way, might I add, onto the model. So what they might do is they might use paint that if you were to put it on in like in fact, let's demonstrate it. Not normally my way of painting, but so if I was to do like a typical brush stroke, so nice and firm, like a base coat brush stroke, yeah, and you can see it's slightly see-through. So I've used a slightly thinner consistency than I would for a base coat. So some painters will use that, but then overload the brush and do a smaller brush stroke with a lot less pressure. It's not going to work. Oh, there we go. Now there's more material coming out in this instance. I've not done it very well as an example here. But you see the puddle at the end. We all know that this puddle at the end exists, all right? Well, you can see it's more opaque. Mm-hmm. Well, why? Because there's more paint stacked up in that little puddle. and you know the water tension at the sides is holding all that pigment stacked up, so when it dries it'll appear more opaque, even though the mix is translucent. So that as a skill to develop is a really it's a good one. Just not applicable here right now for me anyway. In fact, I'll tell you why. It's because I mix my palette like this. I actually need a well palette, which I've got, but I'm not going to do it right now. So yeah, bit vague, but there you go. So yeah, I would be able to paint in multiple directions with this brush as well, a lot easier. Yeah, so from top down, I reckon I could rely on the uniformity of line, left and right, much better. Now I am coming from above, but did you see that then, how it splayed out then? And then it snapped back into the uniform line. That was top. Not something I've experienced before. That was really interesting. So it behaves differently, but not worse, just different. Let's go back. Oh, so here you go. This is a good example. This line, the properties of this line are definitely different, and I had to control it out. This is a wider line than this, and you might not be able to see on camera, mainly because I've just realised I'm painting behind the writing, all the comments here. But yeah, I had to get a grip of this pretty quick, because this stroke here has widened my brush to a degree, and I've just took it off. So right, yeah, this stroke here has changed the shape of my brush, and as I move, there you go, you see that this wide part here, it stayed wide in the brush stroke. Here it got wider, but it actually snapped back to the same width in all these three examples. So yeah, there's some more control, believe it or not. That's a surprise.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's well interesting. Do you know what? I think I've sung its praises enough, really, haven't I? Is there any more questions about that? Look at this. Oh, yeah. Horrible stodge.
No more
Brilliant.
questions.
Right, everyone's happy. Check you guys out. Right, there's 4 bubbles in my water pot there. Just look like spider's eyes looking at me. Oops. So I've gone too light in colour. There we go. Yeah, it's a good brush. Nice. I'm happy to conclude on that. Are you sure you don't want to go?
Yeah. Oh no, go on. Yeah. So we thought it might be useful.
I think it's useful for you to be around. You know, you've got an analytical mind. There's your other size ones if you need them. Yeah, have a play. I'm going to play the comment man.
All right. Let's see what we can do. Right, well, I'm going to start
Nathan
with.
Says, I thought you were making reference to handle size. Oh right, okay. So Nate Foggett said earlier on, do you think feeling smaller or larger will have much effect on, say, dexterity? And I assumed he meant bristle size. But this comment here, where he says, I actually thought you were making reference to handle size. So handle size does make a difference in things like repetitive strain. Smaller brushes don't. They don't do you well for if you get cramp in your hand pretty easy. a bigger brush handle is definitely easier. So yeah, larger brushes are definitely, I think, just more comfortable. Larger brush handles, that is definitely more comfortable to use. Right, brilliant. Let's see who he's actually in. Oh, your phone doesn't do that. Oh, I know why. Brilliant. Cool. What do you think?
It's nice for base coating, so I just tried to get a base coat of the mk3 blue on here.
Yeah, man.
And yeah, it's nice. It holds a lot of paint. It's like, I don't have my Rosemary Co size 2. Have you got a Rosemary Co size 2?
There should be one there, I think. I say that, I actually have no clue. But there should be one.
Yeah, what's that? Yeah, there we go. So this would have been the brush that I would have used. Let's get it in shot. So this would have been the brush that I would have used for base coating something big like this guy's cloak.
That's huge.
And there's the broken toad next to it. And they are... The broken toad, if anything, might be slightly fatter, but the Rosemary Co is longer.
But it is dry as well.
It is dry, that's true. So yeah, it'll plump up a bit, won't it, with some moisture. Let's have a look now. Oh yeah, they are of a similar plumpness.
Plump, wet Sable. You lucky guys.
Here's the thing I've noticed about these brushes, and I noticed this with the size 1 Rosemary & Co as well. As you just draw the brush across the palette, the hairs on this one the hairs on the Rosemary Co brush seem to kind of come apart a little bit. Like that, right? So you can't see my hands. Hang on. Let's do that again for the benefit of the people at home. So yeah, as you kind of press brush into the palette, the bristles come apart from each other like that.
Ah, like a tectonic kind of idea.
Yeah. So whereas that doesn't seem to happen so much with the broken toad Sable brush. That just kind of bends. Right, you can't see my fingers bending because I've got stiff climber's hands.
Yeah.
But yeah, but the brush seems to bend as one. And the Rosemary Co brush, the bristles kind of shear past each other. There you go, there's the physics word.
Shear.
Bit of shear.
Yeah.
And that's something I think I've noticed when I've been trying to paint with.
It's a big question. Does it matter? Is it affecting your painting? Is it affecting the pleasure you have when you're painting? And does it affect your results? Or is it just something to adjust to?
Maybe it is something to adjust to, but it's I don't know. Well, I suppose I haven't been consciously trying to adjust to it.
Yeah.
Just kind of noticing that it happens. Oh, am I out of shot?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, everyone.
It's okay. Only a little bit.
Yeah. I've kind of run out of cloak to paint now to.
That's alright.
To talk about that.
Yeah, but just use a palette.
Yeah, that's too much water there now. That's a bit better. So. wonder if that makes a difference to the dot of paint left behind at the end of the line.
What's that?
The shearing of the bristles that we were just talking about.
I reckon it'd be about the same.
Oh yeah.
How does it compare with the synthetic? Oops. I see. It's funny, isn't it?
It's definitely a different beast straight away.
But not an unpleasant beast.
No.
Yeah, I can see what you've just meant out there. You're struggling to get the back end connected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've still got loads of paint on.
I also noticed that as well. It didn't rinse as easy.
Yeah.
Only slightly, but I did notice. There you go.
Yeah, that's a bit better.
I think that's due to the amount of moisture it holds, and now it discharges the moisture when you press it. Again, not a bad thing, just something to adjust to.
Yeah. So in the last episode that I was on a couple of weeks ago, we described the Broken Toad Series 3 Sable as luxurious.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's not a particularly useful thing to say, but I think despite the beautiful handle, the fugazi don't feel quite as luxurious, and it's a difficult thing to quantify.
So on a scale of luxurious, then, so we put Broken Toad at number 1.
Mm-hmm.
Where then would you put the Rosemary and Co. Windsor Newton in comparison with the? Because it's still a tight game, I think. It's not that there's a big difference and blatantly whoever's in second place is blatantly shitter than number 1 than gold.
Yeah,
but it's not the case, is it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think it's just a different beast. There's something particularly good about the Series 3 Sable, but the fugazi isn't bad. It's different in a different way from the smaller Sable brushes, the Rosemary and Co. and so on.
I could conclude on this, I reckon I could paint a damn good model with it. And I think, and happily, not just like, I'll make do. I reckon, just that's my first impressions from tonight, from just putting paint on this guy. I reckon I could happily settle down and produce some at high quality. Without issue.
Yeah. And I think for me, as the kind of less experienced painter in the process of learning a lot, I've said I would have to do quite a lot of learning to get the most out of the Sable Series 3, but nothing is putting me off the Fugazi Series 3. I'd love to try both of them, all of them, in a as my main brush for a while.
And that'd be really interesting, because like you said, when it comes to experience, experience can make the difference between a brush that's going to get killed and a brush that isn't, and a brush that's being used to its fullest potential, and a brush that isn't, that's why I valued your opinion earlier on, because whatever you think about a brush it might be more applicable to the general populace.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever crazy subtleties I pop out with, who cares? How many people care and how many people notice, but how many people even do deal with things like that, but not consciously, because there's a lot of unconscious competence around, which is not a bad thing. But you know, as a teacher, I've had to become so consciously competent about every micro little thing that, you know, it's now part of my vocabulary and part of everything I'm well aware of all the time, you know. And maybe them things don't matter. Maybe they just matter to me because I'm aware of them, not because they actually matter, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So one thing I'm going to watch out for over time is any bend in the tip, because I feel like it's getting a slight bend already. However, feeling like it is and it actually is two different things. So I'll report back on that at a later point, because that's always going to be the thing. And then the big question is, well, if it does bend, is it because I'm using it in the way that's not recommended by Broken Toad? I think probably yes.
Yeah.
You know, so maybe I should treat this brush with a little more respect than I would a Sable to get the most out of it. I think that would be wise. But at the same time, I also want to see if and when it bends. I think it'll be a when. I think it'll be a when. But I think it'll be an if. I'd rather put it through its paces in my way and find out when that actually is going to happen. I don't know, I'm still eyeballing it now, and I'm not sure. I want to say it's got a bend, but I also want to say it hasn't. I don't know. Hard to say. But again, not enough moisture. There we go. Yeah, it's still performing, so I think it might just be. Yeah, I'll put that through its paces. That's not. Yeah, I'll put it through its paces and then decide later on. But ultimately, yeah, if you were going to buy some of these, use them as the instructions in the box recommend. Don't use them to take paint. Don't use them for mixing with. Use them to apply paint to your model, and use an older shitter brush to do all that. I give you the Broken Toad Fugazi series. Yeah, imitation Sable. And for those that don't know what a Sable is, follow Sable Buddy and see what cute and amazing creatures they are, and maybe they don't deserve whatever they get for being a Sable and having great bum hair. Just gonna wash that. So yeah, all in all, I like it.
I like it too.
Yeah.
And yeah, looking forward to seeing what happens. Try that out.
Yeah, I am. I will. I'll give him a bit of a pummeling, and then I think it's only fair if once I've pummeled it and got the bend I predict out of it, then I'd do it without trying to pummel it and treat it with respect and see how long it takes in that instance, because I do have a full set of them. So
yeah,
so yeah, dude, all good. Should we rack the camera back up on? Has anybody got out to say? Let's. Evening, mate. Just ordered some Broken Toe brushes and brush soap. Brilliant. Wow, there you go. It's almost like this social media business works. Brilliant. Oh, nice one, Glenn. Cheers, dude. I say cheers, you've not bought them off me, so Chris, say thank you.
Does he say whether he's bought Sable or Fugazi?
Oh right, yeah, Glenn, what did you buy? Did you buy Sable? Did you buy the Mark 3s or the Fugazi things?
Or did you go nuts and buy everything? Yeah, should we?
Yeah. Do you know what? I don't. I only own the only brush soap I own is Games Workshop's ones that came in the heavy metal Masters series brushes from yonks ago. And I don't know how legitimate that is. I've brushed them. So I'm just wondering if it's worth me investing in maybe some better soaps of some description. Let's just check battery. Loads. So yeah.
Well, we talked briefly last time about the Josonia brush soap, so I could bring some of that along. We could.
All right, done. Yeah. Let's see if we can bring some old shit brushes back to life. Yeah.
All right, exciting times, everybody. Next time,
okay.
Andy and Tommy wash brushes.
So you don't just get to wash. You get to witness chores as well as paint drying. Check us out. Brilliant. All right, dude. I'm happy with that. I think we're done, aren't we?
I think so.
I think we deserve a brew and some toast.
Oh yes, brilliant.
In fact, we started last time on a brew and a bowl of toast.
Yeah, it's time for another bowl of toast.
So we have a bowl of toast, cutting triangles, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely.
Jam or marmite?
Jam. Yeah.
Brilliant. Right, dudes.
One night.
Any more questions before we go? You know how I like to do this. Or any more statements? I'm going to give you 10 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. See you later. Have fun. Glyn, I hope you enjoy the brushes. Please let Chris Toad know what you think. Have a good night, everybody. See you later. Bye. Bop.